Hey, this is like one of my most nervous streams. I hate doing streams like this. They take a ton of mental energy, and I'm like 80% sure I might get something wrong. But, let's do our best. um, Let me just like, I need to set up something a little bit. Yeah. How are you doing, Art? How are you doing, Crumbs? How are you? Let's hope that that's okay. I mean, let's see while working. Oh, I've never actually noticed. When have you ever been on one of my streams, Yowie Army? I'm actually kind of glad to see you. That makes me a lot less stressed. That's a lie. It makes me even more stressed. Um, I lied to you there. I couldn't handle it. Okay, cool. That's there. That's working. It makes me a lot more stressed because I don't want to fuck this up. I'm super worried about fucking this up because this is a lot of like, it's a lot of information where the wrong thing that's said could get me dealing with a lot of shit. Yeah, I'm glad you typed something. I'm glad someone's doing some preliminary research. Because then I don't have to like feel bad about everything I know. I'm gonna try today. Today's stream is a little bit delicate for a lot of obvious reasons, but it's super delicate because it's um, the nature of the information is one where I do not want to get sued. I don't want to get sued. I don't want to go to jail. I probably wouldn't go to jail, but I definitely don't want to get sued. And as a result of that, I'm probably going to be super careful as to how I say some things. Um, for the most part. So be aware. If I say something, if I'm very even-handed, it is exactly what you think it is, Yaoi Army. But if I'm very even-handed, just know that that's what I'm talking about. Um, yeah, you kind of knew about it. You read, you did some snooping. I'm just giving the stream a little bit of time for, and also giving my nerves a little bit of time so I can fucking gather my soul. I'm go. Let me. Did I make the social post? I did make the social post. I did my work. I did my job. It's one of those things where like I don't want people to miss it. Um, I got a DM from someone who's winning. This sounds funny. I can answer that last question really early on. There's nothing to say about that one too much. No one's won yet. Just so you know, nobody's won yet, and I'm not really here to tell you who's won. I'm a lot more here for just what everything means, and I want to show you some documents. Um, I should just transition. I'll transition now. I'll transition now. Fuck it. I'm unusually nervous, so I do apologize. Um, anyway, hey everybody, welcome to the Webcomics Hubcast episode 12, season 3. I really picked an episode for season 3, right? I picked an episode. I picked a scary little episode for season 3. I've got a few things to talk to you guys about today, but the main thing we're going to be covering. Hey, Gleamy, I love to see you here. Actually, makes my nerves a lot less stressful. The main thing we're going to talk about here today is we're going to focus on talking about this lawsuit, and I think this is way too much tea. There's not enough tea in the ocean for this. We're going to talk about this lawsuit, and I'm just going to tell you the preliminary information. This is a lawsuit between Webtoon and Rocket Ship Entertainment, and it's over unOrdinary. And I think that's like the easiest things I could tell you right now. The lawsuit is specifically over the rights, certain over the print rights for unOrdinary. Yeah, Tomako was an executive years ago. So I think what we want to start off with is who are our players in the game? Okay, who are the people that are involved in this case? Let's start with our boy, Mr. Ackelson, Tom Ackle. I'm gonna do a bit of a screen transition here. Okay, let's start with our boy, our man. This is Tom Ackle. Tom Ackle used to formerly be the head of content at Webtoon. That's why he has that background behind him. This is taken from around 2017, 2018. No, 2017, 2016, when he was still the head of content at Webtoon. Tom Ackle, if I remember correctly, stopped working at Webtoon sometime in 2018. I'm literally looking up his LinkedIn to be sure. This is one of those things where I'm so afraid of getting anything wrong. But anyway, Tom Ackle, yeah, I was right. 2018. Shit. Okay, I know my shit. Whatever. Calm down. Tom Ackle started working there basically from day one and stopped working there in 2018. So he was there for a total of about 3 years or so, right? He would work there as a position of head of content. Head of content at Webtoon US is more or less the guy in charge of Webtoon US. Okay? Just to kind of be clear. That's not the entirety of their role. They have things that they do. They're largely in charge of, like, what content gets greenlit and how things are doing, and they're in charge of the editors, etc. But at a company like Webtoon, that its primary goal is dealing with comic content, the head of content is in charge, kind of Webtoon US. Is the best way to think about it. He's like the top dog there. He was the top dog there. Tom, as far as I know, was fired. From everything I've seen, everything I've heard, he was fired. Now, that might not be true. He might have left on his own, and people are putting that information out there to make him look bad. But what matters is, in 2018, sometime around the start to middle of 2018, he left the company, right? After 3 years of working there. And I'm making all these points just to, like, build up our case of who we're talking about. So this is Tom. Another person we're going to talk about today. We already know Webtoon, so I'm going to just talk about Uru-chan. And she's kind of relevant for this. We're going to be using her little avatar. This is Photoshop. Uru-chan. Uru-chan is one of the people involved in this, and it's important that we're also aware of who she is. She's the artist who makes unOrdinary, the biggest superhero comic in North America, and one of the biggest comics in the world. Okay? I need to put the subtitles on here. Sorry, guys. Sorry there was no captions on the display screen. Anyway, one of the biggest comics in the world, right? That's who Uru-chan is. Okay. Those are our two main people. Let's go over, like, basically the long and short of the case. When Tom was fired from his work at unOrdinary, right? When Tom was fired from his work at Ordinary, Tom started working multiple separate jobs post-leaving. Tom worked as a part of Ackle Entertainment, a consultancy company, which he kind of ran throughout his time at Webtoon, but also I think he still technically runs to this day. And if you're saying somebody who worked at Graphite, yeah, Tom worked at Graphite. He was working as a consultant at Graphite for content. That relationship seemingly did not end very well, with Tom eventually taking legal action against them due to the fact that they owed him back pay. How much back pay? About $200,000. What is the value of that case? I'm not here to say, because frankly, I've not read enough about that case. I just want to kind of let you know about what he was doing in the meantime. After a bit of time working at Graphite, which is about a year, from 2018-ish up until 2019, Tom quit. Around July of 2019. Yeah, around July of 2019, Tom contacted Uru-chan for the first time about this situation, where he asked her for the print rights to her comic. That's when he contacted her. July-ish of 2019. Sorry, not 2018, 2019. July-ish of 2019, he contacts Uru-chan, and he basically says, I'm running this thing. It's called Rocket Ship. Rocket Ship is really cool. We've done work with Leanne Kressick. This was just after the Let's Play print. I think it was currently in Kickstarter, or had just concluded its Kickstarter and was in production, And at the time, Let's Play was also a pretty big comic. Uru-chan, Monji, Leanne Kressick was also a pretty big player in the Webtoon space, right? And so he goes up to her and he says, hey, I'm working with Monji on this thing, and I would like to work with you on getting a print version of unOrdinary out into market. they have that conversation. During the conversation, Tom sends Uru-chan a contract. Okay. Now, I am not sure when the signing of this happened, but what is clear is that Uru-chan signed the contract sometime soon. I believe it was during the conversation, but it might have been a little bit after. It was soon enough that it wasn't a lot of time in between. She signs the agreement with Tom, and then Uru-chan goes back to Webtoon and talks to them about it. Not sure what the context of that conversation would have been, but she talks to them about it is what matters, right? And after that conversation, Webtoon informs her, hey, you don't have those rights to even give away to someone, let alone sell, right? So she didn't have any of the rights to be selling, she didn't have any of the rights to be selling, unOrdinary's print rights to anybody, which is what Tom signed her for, signed for print rights. Uru-chan goes back to Tom saying, hey, I don't have those rights to give you. Can we kind of ixnay this shit? Tom says no. Uru-chan goes back to Webtoon, tells Webtoon he said no. Webtoon goes back to Tom, says, hey, look, it seems there was a misunderstanding. She doesn't have those rights. This is the contract, blah, blah, blah. Please, can you relinquish the print rights? And then we can go on with our day. Tom says no. As far as I'm aware, he says no to both of them. And then Webtoon sues Tom. Webtoon sues Tom. They begin legal action against Tom is the main thing, which eventually led to them suing him. Tom, also during the case, eventually countersues. Webtoon sues Tom on the basis of, and let me just open the legal documents I have here, because I want to show you guys the document in question. I actually took a screenshot of this part because I thought it was really important to show. Where is it? Great. Webtoon. We're going to go back to the display board of doom in a second. That's what I should call it. You guys tell that I'm just trying to compensate for how stressed this makes me to talk about. Why wouldn't it copy? Oh, there. Great. Excellent. So, Webtoon sues Tom. If you've probably noticed, I've redacted all the names here. So whenever you see Uru-chan, that used to say her real full name. I redacted the names of everybody who does not use their full names in public. So for example, I still call Monji Leanne Kresick because Monji publicly calls herself Leanne Kresick, even though the subtitler is misspelling her names surprisingly well. But Uru-chan does not go by her name, and so I have removed her name. And of course, most addresses have been removed from the documents, just so everyone's aware of what's going on. Anyway, so Webtoon sues sues Rocket Ship and Tom at the same time for inducing a breach of contract, intentional interference with contractual relations, intentional interference with prospective economic relations, fraudulent inducement to enter contract, negligent misrepresentation, a violation of a California Businesses and Professional Act Code, common law and unfair competition, and they demand a jury trial and declaratory relief. That last one just means whatever relief they would need to get. It's complicated anyway. But anyway, and a demand for a jury trial. There's a lot of stuff in here, but I'm going to simplify, right? And this is me simplifying. Remember, I'm not a lawyer, but this is me simplifying just so it can be understood by most of us. They basically are suing, saying, hey, look, you made Uru-chan break her contract. You put her in a position where she would break her contract, and that has led to not only a loss of an interference with our contract, a breach of our contract with her. It has led to an environment where whatever economic deals that we might have been working on with her have basically been shattered because now you have those rights that you shouldn't be able to have. They're saying that he made himself look like he had the rights to do that using his former position, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. Making it look like he had the rights to do that by using the fact that he had that position formerly as head of content, and that he knowingly got her to induce to essentially enter into a contract with her, knowing that it would breach a previous contract. So a fraudulent inducement to enter contract. The other ones are just a bunch of California laws, not super important to the rest of us. But that's kind of what happened. Tom countersued. Now, you might be asking, as I did literally the moment I saw this, what the fuck is he countersuing for? Like, what? I'm confused. What could he be countersuing for? Well, as far as I understand, I'm trying to find the document that says it. But Tom essentially countersued for fraud and essentially a loss of business. Those two things, more or less, are what he countersued for. He countersued for fraud and a loss of business, as in like this case, like he's saying that Uruchan committed fraud against him by essentially signing a contract with him and then not living up to that contract, not doing what the contract agreed on with him, and and that this entire lawsuit was leading to a loss of business for him. That's, as far as I understand it, what his lawsuit was about. His case against them was about. I apologize. There's like a million documents in here, and I need to make sure I find. Whenever I'm looking, I'm trying to find the one with his case in it. Ah, yeah, there it is. So no, that's for a different person. I have some case documents from the other lawsuit I talked about with him and Graphite. Anyway, I'm like 90% sure he basically sued her for fraud. He said that she was not living up to the contract that they agreed on, and he said that this lawsuit was getting in the way of business. That was it. That's where the case went to. The case has been in trial basically from September of 2019 till now. The case is still in trial. So if you're wondering, I assume, by the way, this is me assuming, but if you're wondering, like, I assume that if you're wondering where the print version of unOrdinary is in the face of everything else getting a print version, Lord Olympus getting 1 million print versions, I think you can kind of understand where it went. Even if you want to say that like they had some way to get it printed, fundamentally, they can't because it's trapped in this legal case. That's like the high level information. And I'm not going to lie to you. When I wanted to stream this is as far as I was going to go. I was going to say this much information and then quit. Because talking about this shit gives me so much stress. It stresses me out more than you can imagine talking about this. This is a lot of legal information. And, you know, Tom has a lawyer. Like, I don't think Webtoon is going to sue me. They couldn't be bothered. But Tom has a lawyer. And I don't want him to sue me. But I think there's a lot more to talk about in this case that is really relevant for all of us to know. So let me break down a bit of information for everyone. I think the first thing I want to start with breaking down is, sorry, I'm just trying to download a document, is essentially how did he kind of approach her with the contract? Depending on who you ask, and that's very much a depending on who you ask thing, there's multiple different angles to how he approached her with the contract. But the only angle that I've got on hand, that is like written down and really long and was told to other people is Uruchan. So I'm going to actually read Uruchan's account because I think it's a very reasonable account. Also, Tom's account is pretty simple. He said he approached her with a contract because she had majority rights to the comic. For context, Webtoon owns 20% of unOrdinary. Webtoon owns 20%, so Uruchan owns 80% of unOrdinary. And Tom's account, as far as I remember, the last document I read on it was, I approached her for the contract. I gave her the terms. She signed it. I believed, at the time of giving her the contract, I fully believed that she had the rights to give me those. She had the ability to give me those rights due to her position on ownership, etc. Like, that's his angle. Nothing else there. But Uruchan's angle is one I want to read because I'm not going to lie, it's made me really sad. And also, it will give me a chance to explain to you why there are Discord screenshots in a lawsuit. Let's go. Okay. Over here. This is Uruchan's message that she posted in, she posted this in the Webtoon feature creator Discord server that they share together. If you don't know, the feature creators have a Discord server. No big fucking surprise, right? It's a community of people who understand what it's like to have that position, to be working in those conditions, and it's a good place to share resources and just vent. That's what the community Discord is made for. And this is a screenshot of something Uru-chan posted in there. And I'm just going to kind of read the part that really matters. She posted this, I think this was 2021. I think. So that's why it says 2 years ago at the top there. Okay. Anyway, she says, 2 years ago, I was approached by an individual who had just been fired by Webtoon. He wanted to talk about printing unOrdinary as a book. At the time, I considered him a friend of mine. So I decided to hear him out. He spent the first half of our call talking about how Webtoon had fired him for no reason, and about how it was a terrible company who didn't care about its creators. I felt really bad for him, and I became doubtful of Webtoon. Right afterwards, he pitched the idea of running a crowdfunding campaign for the print version of unOrdinary. He emphasized that he, unlike Webtoon, would act with my best interest in mind, and that he would 100% protect creators' rights. The project would be super fun and laid back. I could back out at any time, no strings attached. Once the call ended, he sent me a contract to look over and insisted I keep our conversation a secret from Webtoon. I understood, but I let the contract sit because the whole thing felt off to me. I was in no rush to print, and I wasn't in a rush to print anything. Over the next couple of months, I was making extra chapters for the new FastPass feature and dealing with my season finale. My relationship with Webtoon became distant because of what I had been told prior, and because of the extreme stress I was under. I was wrong. So it wasn't shortly after. It was a few months after. Just that she signed the contract. Just so everyone knows, I'm correcting myself in time. Anyway, during this period, the person sent me multiple reminders that his offer was still on the table. By the time my season ended, I was so exhausted, I couldn't tell up from down. With my friend pushing his deal onto me for so long, I was convinced that this crowdfunding campaign was a good idea. Plus, I really felt that he cared about me, that he cared about my story, and that I could trust him. Because he was an ex-Webtoon employee, he claimed that nothing in his contract conflicted with Webtoon. He constantly reassured me that everything was fine. I believed him, so I didn't consult with a lawyer or Webtoon. Very quickly, I skimmed through his contract, trusted it was A-okay, and signed it. A few weeks later, my editor warned me about someone who was trying to make bad deals with creators. This worried me, so I finally told him about my situation. My editor asked if I had signed away any exclusive rights and said that if I had, then I better have been offered a ton of money for them. What? I had no idea my print rights could even be worth money. When I went back to look over my contract in more detail, I realized that I had unknowingly given up unOrdinary's exclusive print rights for free. I wasn't too concerned at first, since my friend and I hadn't really started working on the crowdfunding project yet. I thought I could just ask to back out of the deal like he led me to believe, and everything would be fine. So I called him up to discuss, expecting him to understand. But what I got in response left me feeling like an idiot for trusting him. He was very aggressive. He said he owned unOrdinary's exclusive printing rights, and that if I wanted them back, I'd have to buy them back. When I started sobbing, he hit me with the, "Sorry, Chelsea, it's just business." Just business? Hey, Seashell. You came at a great time. Just business? What about me? What about the years I've spent slaving away at my work? What about the all-nighters and relationships I've sacrificed to get where I am? What about the hand, neck, shoulder, and body pains I've had to endure? What about all the shit I've had to deal with? I didn't know what to do, so I asked Webtoon for help. Webtoon contacted him demanding to void the contract, to which his legal team replied that I would be causing up to $3 million in damages to his company, and that in order to void the contract, I would have to agree within 30 days to pay him $1 million or he would take legal action against me. What the fuck? Sorry, what the fuck just is funny because everything is so stressful. And then there's just this bit where I just had a moment to relax. I apologize. $3 million in damages. In our deal, he said he paid a total of $0 for unOrdinary's print rights. The project was also no risk for him because he would have been 100% funded by my readers. On top of that, I would have been the one responsible for advertising the campaign. So where did all that money come from? The whole thing just felt like a huge scam. Like I was manipulated into giving my rights away over a crowdfund project. And now I had to pay a ridiculous amount to get them back. A month later, Webtoon filed an official complaint against him in court. We've been going back and forth ever since. Major publishers have reached out to me, but I've been unable to do anything because my print rights have been held in limbo since 2019. 2 whole years gone. It's been hard to stay creative and motivated, trying to balance deadlines, and this lawsuit has been hell. It's also been impossible to tune out because seeing comments from readers asking for unOrdinary in print has been a constant reminder. Make no mistake, I'm going to fight this thing to the end, but I will not allow this person to earn a single penny off of something that I've put years of blood, sweat, and tears into, and I will do everything in my power to make sure he never messes with creators again. Thanks for taking the time to read. Know your rights, etc., etc. There's a lot to this, but I should say really quickly, this is how Uru-chan posted this in the creator community, right? Sorry, I need to take a second. That was actually really fucking sad. I've read this document now like a dozen times, and every time I read this bit, it actually makes me very depressed. Not completely, but very depressed, very exhausted. There's some things I want to say about that, but I'm going to get to that later. Anyway, so I'm going to say something unusual at this point and at this stage. This is like one of the few times in any of my stories that Webtoon is 100% the good guy. I called Webtoon about this. I actually called Webtoon and Tom Ackle about this case. I emailed them. I emailed their lawyers. I emailed Tom's lawyers. Actually, Webtoon got back to me very quickly. I spoke to people in Webtoon who basically gave me this is their official statement. Webtoon is trying to best to monetarily support a creator to be able to exploit the rights of their work as much as they can. And they believe that this lawsuit is the correct thing to do to allow their creator to be able to exploit those rights that they worked hard to earn appropriately. They do not believe that the contract is valid, and they believe it should be voided. Very careful language, as you can hear, but that's what they told me. I spoke to an insider, a person who has every reason to tell me, every reason to lie to me, but also has every reason to, make the company sound good. But this was a very genuine statement. Webtoon is, I should be very honest with you, completely not at fault here. In my opinion, the Webtoon of today is not at fault. Just to be clear. The Webtoon of today, the Webtoon that is going into this lawsuit, was not really involved. In fact, in one of the documents, in Exhibit A of one of the earlier documents, one of the arguments made by Tom Ackle's team against Webtoon is that Webtoon is a minority owner of unOrdinary and shouldn't even be involved in this case. Like, they own so little of unOrdinary that their opinions don't matter, is what the document basically said. So them involving themselves is actually quite a big deal because they have no reason to do so, but they're doing so anyway. I don't understand how that deal works out in the background or, how that's monetarily handled, but they're spending quite a lot of money, in my opinion, to protect someone else's rights. Which makes them, in this situation, to me at least, the good guys. Okay. Just saying that, not saying it like they're good in the case. There's a lot to be said with the legal case itself, but I mean just the surface level version of this. They're acting as the good guys. They're acting in a way that does not really benefit them per se. I mean, it does kind of. They own 20%. Whatever money she makes, they make. But you get the point. You get what I'm saying. Okay, like you understand what I'm getting at here. Okay, so can I ask you guys a question? Did any of you wonder how I got this screenshot? This was in the legal document, so I forget that part. Did any of you wonder how the court got this screenshot? It's a very interesting question that actually needs a very important answer. If you want to know, I'm happy to tell you. I'm saying that I'm going to tell you. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you. Cool. If you want to know why Webtoon has this document at all, which I don't need, why the court has this document at all, is very simple. It was given to them by Manji. Manji gave them the document. Manji is the reason why the court has this document, and Manji gave the document to the court. If you want evidence for that, strictly speaking, I believe this is the one. Give me a second. We need to make sure this is the 5-page one. Ah, great. There. Here's the document. Here, I'm just going to read this from the top page so everyone can see it. I, Leanne Kresick, declare as follows. I am a non-party to this action. I am the creator of digital comic series Let's Play. I am managed by defendant Thomas G. Ackle. I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth herein, and if called as a witness, I could and would testify competently thereto. I make this declaration in support of the defendant and cross-complainant Rocket Ship Entertainment LLC and defendant Thomas Ackle's opposition to plaintiff Webtoon Entertainment and Uru-chan. Discord is, they explain what Discord is for the court. And then she gave this document in on September 3rd, 2021. She participated in a creator Discord conversation wherein Uru-chan, under her nom de plume, Uru-chan, I took her name out, also participated. During the course of this conversation, I made screen captures of this thread, a true and copy of these screen captures is incorporated by reference and attached as Exhibit T. I declare under the penalty of perjury of the laws of the state of California that the foregoing is true and corrected, executed on September 15th, 2021 in California. Okay? Okay. That's how we got the Discord conversation. I need to say something really clearly. The Discord conversation is absolutely fucking depressing. It's a bunch of featured creators. So Uru-chan makes that big post that you guys just heard me read. And then a bunch of big creators talk. A bunch of the creators all just sit there and talk to each other and like are feeling very sad. But the thing that really highlights it for me is there's a moment in that conversation, a very, very genuinely heartfelt moment where somebody asks, and I don't remember who, but somebody asks, what'd you call it? Somebody asks, hey, Manji works with him. I hope she's safe. Because she doesn't mention, throughout the entire case, throughout the entire post, Uru-chan never mentions him by name. But there's a moment in there where he goes, so Manji works with him. I hope she's safe. Which was very sad for me to read. It was very sad for me to read, genuinely, because like, you know, it's very depressing that that's where it is. Anyway, if you're wondering why they submitted this, the large reason they submitted this is because one of the claims that was being made, if I remember correctly, was essentially like, I think the best way to phrase it would be that Uru-chan was going around spreading that he was the bad guy in the situation, thereby leading to a loss of business. Like, that's genuinely it. I don't think there's a better way to put that, but that's more or less what he was saying. If I'm simplifying, just to make sure this gets across. She was bad mouthing him and thereby leading to a loss of business. So Manji took screenshots of a creator conversation, because that's what she was asked to do by her manager, who is Tom. Now, do I think she did anything illegal? Fuck no. She did nothing illegal. Like, she's working with him. He is her manager. They have a close relationship. It is a reasonable thing to do. Do I like it? No. But it's just my personal opinion. Anyway. It's just so much. so much. So many things. Anyway. There is also another person in the conversation in the chat. I'm trying not to show the chat too much because, like, I think for the most part, it's a lot of people just giving their opinions about the situation and being very unhappy about the situation. There's not much much to kind of bring up from that, but there is one thing I want to talk about. In the document, and this is one of the things that kind of led me and the people I was reading this with kind of just to keep pushing into and understanding this case and just figuring out like who was involved and what was involved, etc. In there, can I just call him Aiden? Yeah, I can call him Aiden. Aiden Snail Lords talked about how that wasn't the first that a similar thing had happened to him, and that was kind of what dragged me into this case. So you guys remember everything that Uru-chan said about what Tom did, and Tom's version of the story is kind of the polar opposite, very cut and dry, etc. Right? Well, God. Well, in the document, in one of the legal documents, I think it's this one. Yeah, definitely this one. I believe it's this one. Sorry, there's like a million of them. So I'm just always trying to make sure I have the right one on screen so I don't show the wrong piece of information for no reason. In one of the documents submitted as evidence by Webtoon, in a part of the document where Webtoon's basically trying to paint Tom as resentful. And I'm saying trying to paint him as resentful because I'm trying to just talk about what the document is doing, not whether it's legally true or not, right? The document is trying to paint Tom as resentful, saying that the company, that he's resentful of the company, saying that they didn't treat him well. And so the reason why he's being so difficult to work with and refusing to give the rights back is essentially that he's just molding, more or less, is what they're saying. In that document, I think it's this one. Should be this one. In that document, there is a screenshot of Tom speaking with Aiden. This one for me was actually like pretty interesting in that it's a document of Tom speaking with Aiden, wherein Aiden's point as to saying like, hey, I've talked to him before. He did a very similar thing to me as to what Uru-chan is describing is in there. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, I know I have it. So it's just a matter of going through like all of them. Oh, we love it here. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, in this document, Aiden basically says, hey, a similar thing happened to me, and they attach screenshots of his conversation with Tom. Finding this document is apparently the hardest thing ever because I've organized my documents like an idiot. Because I just put them all over the place. Sorry, when getting ready for the stream, I realized it was time, and I just kind of went a little bit dumb and didn't like clean up a couple of things. So forgive me a little bit, but it is a live stream, so I get to escape with this. For everyone in chat saying this sucks so much to many people and to everyone taking advantage of artists, yeah, it kind of sucks. But I can't even make the statement of anyone being taken advantage of. Like it's very difficult for me to talk about this case even-handedly because, like, you know, there's a part of me, the creator part of me, that's not happy with a lot of people in this situation. There's not happy with a lot of people. I'm not happy with Manji. I'm not happy with Tom. I'm not happy with a lot of people. But the thing is, I don't think they did anything legal. I can't say they did anything legally wrong. That's the best way to say it. I can't say they did anything legally wrong. The legal fees are crazy. Some of the fees I've seen, the legal fees are dumb. The numbers are dumb. Because some of the documents are just like bills. Some of the documents are just like bills. And like you can see how much things cost sometimes. And I think I've opened a few of them. Oh yeah, I found the conversation. Great. Anyway, but like, you know, fundamentally, what's it called? Fundamentally, I can't say anybody has done anything. I can't say anybody is evil or wrong in this situation purely because legally it's not been determined yet. And that kind of holds my tongue. I don't like a couple of things that are happening. They make me very uncomfortable. They make me very unhappy. They make me very sad for the people involved because they don't deserve this. But in my opinion, at least, they don't deserve this. But, you know, some part of this is also a few people's fault. So it's kind of a depressing thing to watch. Anyway, here is the document I was looking for. I'm going to talk about Tom's part in a second. But this is me focusing a lot more on the creative part and what the creators are saying, because there's actually some things to what Tom is saying that I think are really relevant to talk about. Whether we think they're important or not, that's like a personal decision, but I think they are important to talk about. Let's just move. Where's the goddamn screen? There. Cool. So this is Exhibit C in one of the documents. This is a document. You know how I said in one of the documents, Webtoon was trying to paint Tom's behavior as basically him trying to get revenge for the poor treatment. This is in that document. That's what this exhibit is. This is Exhibit C. This is the conversation between Tom and Aiden. So gray is Aiden, Snailology, and blue is Tom, okay? So we're gonna just kind of go through this conversation together because I think it maybe influences your thoughts. Let's see. Hey, Aiden, I hope everything is going well, and congratulations on freaking romance. Your readership numbers are insane. Please keep this confidential. I'm not sure if you know. I left Webtoon last year, but I'd like to talk to you about print editions of Snailology. Snailology. Keep calling it Snailology. Snailology and Nightmare Factory if you're interested. Hi, from Aiden. Thank you. I heard you left. Yeah, how have you been? Sure, I'm interested, but I'm planning on rebooting and redrawing all of Nightmare Factory, so probably only Snailology is cool. It's okay. Tom, I've been great, very busy, and a lot of that will come to light in the next 2 months. In the meantime, one of my little endeavors is a new print publishing company. The first book is Let's Play. Which just wrapped up the Kickstarter, and I'd definitely be interested in only Snailology. Whoa, so you helped out with Let's Play? Nice. Please do show me the way. Lots of conversation. He explains that he's also going to be printing #blessed. He explains that they do the reformatting, and I think for any creator who's made a lot of episodes of the comic, that offer sounds really good. He explains that he works with 4 employees and he has 10 titles, and Aiden just asked for more details. They explain that they're going to be printing Darby, 1000, did 1000 get a print release? This is a genuine question. I talk about how 1000 has like the best trailer ever, but I don't actually know if it got a print release. This is a completely non sequitur, but somebody check that. Did 1000 get a print release? I actually kind of need to get that. Anyway, Assassin Roommate, Brothers Bond, 1000, and Darby. They're also going to be working with Girls Have a Blog. So he explains how everything sells and how the money goes. And, Aiden gets caught up in things like Diamond, big box, who Diamond are, what a big box retailer is, and like ALA, etc. And how soon they can launch the Kickstarter as the fall. So this is 2020, saying that they can launch the Kickstarter as soon as the fall of 2020. So this would be a year after his conversation with Urchan and a few months after the lawsuit started. Not too long after the lawsuit started, pretty much. So right now, this would have been 2019, because it says it can't go out till April 2020. So this is the fall of 2019. So this is while talking to Urchan. Sorry, I didn't put this together for some fucking reason. While talking to Urchan, he was also talking to Aiden. Not too long after, around the same time, it seems. Interesting. Anyway, he explains when that is, and he tells him, hey, that's exactly the date of your Naver print window, as in like the print agreements that he has with Naver kind of end around that time. He explains how he doesn't I don't do anything I do relate to freaking romance after signing the contract with Webtoon. I need to talk about them with. So let me just delay signing contracts. Which is what he's basically saying. Because he's currently in the process of selling a part of Freaking Romance to Webtoon. He explains how much he's going to have to give to Webtoon. He explains how much of the 20% they own, and the cut that he's going to split with Aiden. So he's like, I'm going to get 50%, you're going to get 50%. Standard comic book publishing print, and we take zero rights. How does it work? We handle everything. We do the editing, the formatting, and send everything to print, and then ship the items to the buyer. And then we even handle fulfillment and ship the items to the buyers. We get the ISBN numbers. We get into places like Barnes and Nobles. We run the Kickstarter. Aiden's pretty happy. And then, where is the section? And then after a lot of conversation, they go away, and there's a section of the conversation when he comes back to Tom. I need to find that. It's a little bit lower. Sorry, it's a very long conversation. It's a very long conversation. They talk for like ages. Okay, cool. Basically, at a certain point, Tom, Aiden went to Webtoon. There it is, here. So basically, he asked this literally, like he basically says this is going on. Yeah, there it is. Tom, there is something I need to disclose. There is a clause in the contract, first negotiation with Webtoon. So I let them know that I was approached to do a Kickstarter and I had mentioned your name. Wait, I asked you not to mention me. Why would you do that without telling me? Sorry, I messed up. I asked this earlier on. Aiden, I trusted you with this, and I know the clause. I'm the one who wrote it. I wrote all those agreements. Okay. They asked me who was the publisher, and I just said you. I don't want Ken knowing my business. This emoji, this is Facebook, by the way. Like, this is Facebook Messenger, which is why the emojis look like this. Sorry, you may have just completely derailed my entire company, Tom says. Aiden goes, I asked this early on without knowing the mess behind it. Tom says, and the salaries of my staff. Dude, that is so not cool. I'm so sorry. This is my life, my food for my kids. I didn't know the mess behind you and Webtoon. Tom continues, I asked you not to say anything. We don't have a contract. You hadn't even said yes. You had no reason to bring it up now. And now it affects every other creator I'm publishing. I'm very sorry. And if they get spiteful and cancel back channel, I lose 15,000. Well, they only know about my Kickstarter proposal with you and nothing else. Tom, I was going to let them know when the time was right, months and months before you'd have launched. The emojis are from Facebook. Just let it go. Aiden goes, I can just not go through with the Kickstarter. Tom says, well, let me know what they say. Aiden says they just asked who approached me and I said your name. Sorry. Tom says they don't have a first negotiation for print. Aiden says they said just to give them a heads up if I go through with it or not. Tom says I know because I wrote the agreement. Okay. Aiden says they have a clause where I need to disclose when I'm being approached. Tom goes, that's good. No, they don't. I wrote your agreement. I know what's in there, unless it's a new one, in which case I don't know. Aiden goes, Dad, I'm also almost signing a co-owner contract with them. So to be safe, I asked things first. It's a new one. Tom, did you say, sorry, and Aiden says, also, it's a new contract. Tom goes, did you say that I published Let's Play? Aiden goes, but they only know about you wanting to do a Kickstarter with me, and no, I didn't say that you published Let's Play. Tom goes, okay, good. All right, then. Aiden says, yeah, I only said things pertaining to myself. Tom says, let me know how things go. Aiden, okay. Tom says, it sounded like he said that just to let him know. Aiden says, yeah. So I'm sure and Tom continues, so I'm sure they're okay with it. I just don't trust them. Aiden goes, he basically said to let him know if I go through with it. What company am I working for? What happened between you and them? Tom goes, nothing really. Seriously, Ken and I just don't see eye to eye, and I don't trust him at all. Aiden says, again, I'm sorry. I asked because you said I think he's trying to say I asked because you said Ken let you go. Tom can go, he moved Mac's family there and fired him the moment his contract was up. Mac is one of the workers. His name has nothing to do with, his name isn't, he's not too important, but he is one of the workers in there. Mac continued to work with Tom post Webtoon, I believe. Aiden goes, oh no, Facebook emoji. Tom goes, he fired me with no reason. Tom then goes on to say, and I've seen some things I have real issues with, so I don't trust him. I like David. I like Paul. Aiden goes, so why aren't they not happy if you work with their creators? Tom responds, I like everyone who works except 2 or 3 people. Unfortunately, those people run the company. I don't agree with how they run business from an ethical or moral standard. Aiden then goes on to say, if I sign the IP with them, I basically have to give a heads up to who I'm working with, etc. If you do, Tom then says, if you do, yes, but not until you do. Regardless, it's done. I'll do whatever damage control needs to be done. This is important. Did you give them the name of the entity? Aiden goes, sorry. And then Aiden goes, nope, the rocket ship? Tom goes, okay, cool. Yeah. And then Aiden goes, yeah, I didn't mention Mongi's campaign or other info. I just said you're the one doing prints or merch. Tom then goes, okay, they don't do print, and I know they don't care about that stuff. Lots of creators do print, Tom continued. Yeah, Aiden said. Tom continued, so it will only be an issue if Ken decides to be a dick. I'm sorry, that's just really funny. I'm sorry. God. Aiden continues, would he get in the way of you working with other creators? And Tom says, Ken might. He's petty. Look, don't worry about it. I plan on letting them know in about a month anyway. I just wanted to button up a few things because I don't trust them. It'll be fine. It's all right. Aiden continues to ask him, would you let them know the name of the entity that you'll be working with and that you'll be working with their other creators? And Aiden goes, yes, I'm going to be posting schedule. I'm sorry. And then Tom goes, I'm going to be posting the schedule on my website. They don't know who I've signed. And that's the end of that interrogation. But that's the chat. So when Uru-chan said what she said, and then Aiden said in the conversation that he had a similar behavior, there, we ended up here. Keeping it together is really hard because this is a lot of things to read. And it's also very worrying because I want to make sure I don't say anything wrong. So every third word has to be checked in my brain. It's taking forever. Okay, so I apologize because there's been a lot of me just reading people's conversations, but Ken is Knuff. Ken is definitely Knuff. It's so stupid. But yeah, it's not me reading conversations, but it's just me kind of trying to build the environment that everyone's coming into this with. What's funny is that all the original creators are in a Discord together now, and this was done on Facebook chat. Yeah. I don't know why you did this on Facebook chat. I don't know why this conversation happened on Facebook. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't understand. No, Ken isn't Kenny. Ken isn't Kenny. Ken is Ken Kim. Okay, so this is the thing I found out in the documents, and I think it'd be good to talk about. The secretary of Naver Webtoon is called Ken Kim. I can't delete the chat history. It's in my fucking stream. I can't get rid of it. Anyway, the secretary of Naver Webtoon is Ken Kim. Now, you probably all think Ken Kim is the CEO if you ever heard his name. I found out by reading the documents that Ken is not the CEO. At least at the time of this lawsuit going on, about 2022 was the last time I think it was updated. Ken is not the CEO. Ken is actually the secretary of Webtoon. The CEO is a man called Jin-Koo Kim, who is not Ken. He's a different person. And this is the CEO and the secretary of Naver Webtoon. So that's like Webtoon Global, if you want to think of it like that. So yeah, that's where we're at. So that's me explaining to you how I got a lot of the information. That's me explaining to you kind of everything from what'd you call it? Everything from Urochan's perspective, everything from the Webtoon perspective. Ken is like, he's like he's like the secretary. He's like a big deal. He's like, he's high up in the company. He's just not the CEO. He's like second in command, I guess is the best way to think about it. Second, third, it seems to be. At least at the time of when this lawsuit was running around. I think he might be actually CEO now, but I've not fucking checked, and I'm not going to lie to you that I have. Anyway, that's kind of where the lawsuit kind of comes to from Urochan's perspective. There's a few other things in there. They showed their contract, for example, which I've shown on stream before, which is just me explaining how, like, I think they're compensating her terribly, which is what I was talking about. And there's a lot of documentation that's internal information at Webtoon that's also here. A bunch of addresses, which I had to get removed. This is so stupid. Anyway, more importantly, now that we've gotten past all of that, right? We've gone past all of the information with respect to Urochan's perspective. Tom's perspective on the case is very simple. Tom basically goes, look, I was kicked out of the company because I was treated terribly, right? I was kicked out of the company. I went to do my own thing. My own thing was going well. I was signing people, but I also knew that the company I used to work at was very vindictive and they would come after me. Tom's in the same document where they have the information that was used, that I just showed you, that was the chat between Tom and what's his name? Aiden. Tom also included information that was evidence of the fact that he felt like of his proof of being mistreated by Ken. And I can show you some of that right now. Essence, you're so late. There's so much to explain, but I can do it one more time. One last time for me to explain what's going on. I'm talking about the lawsuit between Tom Ackle's company, Rocket Ship, and Urochan, which has also involved Webtoon. That's it. Anyway, Tom basically alleged that the environment that he was working in wasn't great, right? It wasn't a good place to work. And he included some documents basically saying, look, all of this his argument with those documents was essentially, with the information, was just, all of this lawsuit is just the company being vindictive because Ken is a vindictive person, right? And some of the evidence he showed includes this, a screenshot of a message from Ken that says, again, next year plan is showing how much you understand and learn from this year and past years. That experience should be included in your next year plan. And give me and us some confidence of you as that you are the right person to lead that area. Let's be more serious on your next year's plan. Otherwise, I will make you serious enough. Is something that apparently, that allegedly Ken sent to Tom. And in this message from Ken to Tom as well, which was, include all of your know-hows in here. Otherwise, you will regret it later. With an emoji. Look, okay, I need to be very fucking upfront with you guys right now. Look, he's like a millionaire. Okay, he's like a rich guy running a company. The fact that he sends a text like that is legitimately funny. I'm sorry. It's just really funny. It's just really funny to me that a person with that much power sends text like with like a little fucking ASCII emoji. Who is this guy? I kind of want to meet him. So yeah, Tom was basically in charge from 2015 to 2018. Tom basically's initiatives all basically started around 2016 and didn't end until after 2018. And a lot of Webtoon's behavior during that time was kind of scattered, but I don't know if that's his fault. I don't really know what role he had to play in it. The only thing I know that he definitely had a role to play in was that he helped get the rapper Common on board for making a comic about Common that went nowhere and kind of wasted a bunch of resources. But it's not unusual for Webtoon to waste resources. They waste resources now. So You know what I mean? Because there's not much I can say about that. Anyway, Tom's angle is very cut and dry, and from his angle, in my opinion, it's a cut, not cunt. Sorry, my freaking my my subtitle thing thought I said a bad word when I just said cut. Um, and Tom's version of this is very cut and dry, and he basically puts it down to this: they're going to push back against me. They're going to strike back against me if I were to whenever they're going to strike back against me. They know what I'm doing, even though everything I'm doing is above board. I signed her, but I didn't tell her to tell Webtoon to really keep everything hush hush because I didn't want Webtoon to basically fuck me over. Is his argument, and like this lawsuit is evidence that they have and proof of the fact that like I did nothing wrong. That's his argument in this case. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about a lot of this stuff because I've read the deposition document, the deposition that he did, and I've read the things that he said about the environment. Tom has alleged a very toxic work environment, saying things like work-life balance is something that is believed in by Ken Kim. Ken has put him in situations that have made his life uncomfortable. Ken has gone as far as to make other employees cry, notably making, I believe, there's a named person. I don't remember their name, so I'm not going to say their name, but there's a named individual. I'm saying that like they've notably made that named individual cry by telling them that they're basically useless within the company, which had them leaving a meeting that it had him, Ken Kim from Naver, and Mac Foster, and this employee leaving that meeting and going to the open cubicle space and sitting at her table and crying. It's not a cubicle, but like the open plan area and crying at her table. It was really weird. The kind of things that he's alleged, I'm not gonna lie, sound like a toxic environment. And if they are true, Tom's got a really strong point for the fact that where he was working with was a very negative place. But I don't know how any of this has to play into the fact that has to play into the case that is being brought against him per se. I don't understand how it ties in. Um, it's a bit confusing to me. I should say one of the deposition did bring one really cool thing for me though. And I really want you guys to see this document because it's very funny. Check this out. One of the questions was, and how do you verify a statement like dude is evil when talking about Ken Kim? I just think that's really fucking funny. And he explains like, that he treats people poorly and fires a lot of people and there's no such thing as good and evil, but it's hyperbole. But this is a very funny question to have to ask in a legal context. Okay. There isn't like a ton more here. The lawsuit is still on way. No decision has been made. Nobody's been taken to court. Nobody's been like made to, people have been taken to court, but nobody's been made to like pay anything or give anything up. My personal opinions on this is like, I think Ruchan's right. But at the same time, like, you need to read the contracts that you sign. Like the fundamental problem here, all of this is a fundamental problem of just like in an environment where you're adapting content from the digital space to print versions, the way you handle doing that adaptation, the way the contracts that are given to you can be very exploitative. And as a creator, being aware of the power and the value of your work, even being aware of the value and the power of your work and how much you can sell it for is really important. A lot of this came from the fact that she didn't know that her work was valuable. Like unironically, she didn't know. She said that. She didn't think she could sell her print rights. She didn't think print rights could be sold. She didn't know what the power of her work was. She read the contract, but she seemingly didn't give it a lot of reading time because she was under a very stressful situation. Like I don't even blame her because it's not her fault. Because a lot of the things that she talks about as well is that she's in a stressful situation because she felt like she was working a lot. She was exhausted all the time and she was too busy. She was busy working on Fast Pass and concluding a season and it was exhausting, which might be a conversation about, the work Webtoon expects from creators, even creators as big as her, being a lot, leaving them in situations where like they're always tired, which makes them very easy to like convince to do things that may not be in their best interests. As far as I'm aware, from my perspective, the behavior that Tom has shown in the documents I've read about him, in the deposition that I've read, in the way he's handled things personally with other people, to me, just read a little bit negative. You know, I don't think they come off negative to me, which is the most I can say. Is all I can say. If I say any more, I'll get sued. So I don't want to get sued. Like, not to say he's litigious, but I don't want to get sued for this. I just wanted to talk about this because I think it reflects very poorly on a lot of people here. It reflects poorly on him being in this situation in the first place. There's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of ways this could have been handled to avoid getting this far. But and maybe if he's right about how vindictive Ken is, maybe there were no ways. But I think there were these ways to come off a little bit better in the documents that didn't happen, which is, kind of sad. I think that like there's a lot that could have been done to help Uruchan and support their creators. It's a bit weird that creators don't understand their rights so much that they feel the need to continue to go back to you. If you're going to sign these creators, some of them very young, you sign some of them at like 19, 18, 17 years old. You're going to sign creators young, especially. You need to be informing them of like this broader, you need to be informing them of this, of their rights. You need to be informing them of what rights that they have very clearly, because then stuff like this doesn't happen, which I think they've done a lot better of a job doing. And thirdly, like, this doesn't reflect good on not reading your contract. Like, fuck, please read your contract. Like, I'm not even mad anymore. If you're tired, and I get it, Like, there's a lot of reasons why you fuck up and you don't read it. But I think the creators as a whole, please, we need to adopt the attitude of like going out of our way to read the documentation that we were given. There's more stuff here. There's more documents that I could show and bring up, but they don't really they don't change what's going to happen. They don't change what's going on. They don't change the fact that like, because as a result of this contract, the creator, the feature creator Discord server has now become like fucking a place where a bunch of creators don't feel safe anymore because somebody that they trusted, that was their friend, submitted their chat as official documents. As a result of this lawsuit, people haven't been able to get their work to print, and people have been dragged into lawsuits, exhausting days and exhausting nights. It doesn't matter whose side you're on in this case. This is just fucking stupid. This shouldn't have happened. This shouldn't have happened at all. Creators need better legal education, and maybe that's something that is the job of the community more, to provide those resources. I feel like we do, but maybe there's just a better way to provide those resources. I don't think Uruchan became a pawn in the game in his game against Webtoon. I don't think that, but I don't think she's being treated well. I think that it wasn't about being a pawn. I think it didn't matter if anyone would have sufficed if for this situation. It was just about like putting the horse before the cart, Like, it was just that. It harmed people 100%, but it was just a lot of wasted effort, money, and time, and paper. This is a lot of fucking paper. One of these documents is 144 pages. It's so stupid. Like, this is so stupid. Okay. There's no more to bring up because everything else is just like, the case has gone on for a year. One of the reasons it took me a year, I've been doing research for a year. One reason it took me a year because the case just kept going on and never ending, with the lawyers kind of throwing shit at each other and the case just kind of being postponed constantly. Like, that's it. Like, which is normal for cases like this. Cases with big companies like this, it's normal that they take forever to resolve. It's just very sad. This is 2023 now. The case is still going on. This case started in 2019. It's been 4 years. This is July, right? It's been 4 years since this shit started. 4 years. And it's just miserable that it's gone on this long. Yeah, ultimately, she's the victim. Like, ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the end point is in terms of monetary victims, et cetera, et cetera. But just like ultimately, every person who has had to spend any sleepless nights over this fucking case, which I know Uruchan definitely has from her accounts, are the victims of this. Everybody has had to run around in circles, and a lot of people haven't been able to find any peace, and it's miserable. It's upsetting that this is the end point that it came to. This case is probably not going to get resolved for another like year, maybe. I thought they literally had a final hearing for trial date 4 times this year. That's why this case is coming out now for me. 4 times they had a final hearing for trial. There's been no final judgment, as far as I can find. It's just sad. I don't really have much else to add. It's just depressing. Okay, you can ask me questions now. And then after you ask me questions, I'm going to go to bed because this actually made me a lot more upset than I thought it would to stream. Made me a lot more upset than I thought it would. Because like I've read a lot of these documents multiple times. I've read a lot of the information multiple times. And there's a lot more stuff here. But like surprisingly, this just continues. Every single time I go over this, it makes me even more depressed. Like you can build, you can do a lot with these documents, but I decided to kind of just make things really simple. If you have any questions, if you want to ask about anything about the lawsuit, I can answer a few things. Remember, I'm not a lawyer, but yeah. He has a strong case. Actually, no. I should say this. I forgot this. Thank you for reminding me, Yaoi Army. One of his main cases was that that Uruchan committed fraud. And in one of the declarations, Uruchan admitted that she didn't really read the contract, and so she couldn't have committed fraud. Which is a good, correct, and very strong argument. And I think that worked. I don't remember, but I think that worked. It's very funny. Like, I actually have to admit, that's very funny. I don't remember if it went through, but I know that was the argument, essentially, was I didn't really read it, but couldn't have committed fraud. It makes you think you can't have any friends in business. Look, no matter who your best friend is, no matter who the people you are friends with are, right? You cannot in your goddamn life kick a contract from somebody and not read it. Even your best friend, the person you care about the most, could put you in a position that they inadvertently, that's negative. And you would end up in a dumb argument. Please always read your contract. Please, when you had a contract, get a second opinion. Don't just read it by yourself. Maybe read it with a friend. And after that, when you're done reading with a friend, go and read it with a fucking lawyer. Please, Jesus Christ. Multiple rights lawyers in comics especially do free consultations for like 30 minutes. They do 3 consultations for like 30 minutes. Free consultations for like 30 minutes. Please, multiple lawyers do this. But before I even did this stream, I consulted with a lawyer so I could find the best documents to talk about this. Then, like, it didn't really change much of my case, but it's a good thing to do. I know they spent too much time on this, so they couldn't really help, which isn't their fault. It's my fault. But it's a good thing to do. Have a lawyer read it. A lot of people sign originals contracts really fucking quickly. They get into an originals contract and they sign it really fucking quickly, like within weeks, sorry. Please, let it take months. Please, let your fucking contract take months. Let it take as long as it needs to take till it's correct. Somebody, like, if your contract tells you that it's got a fucking non-disclosure agreement on it, it just means that whoever you have to read it with is covered by that non-disclosure agreement. You're gonna read it with somebody you care about. Like, look, there is no legal environment where reading it with somebody you care about would be taken as a negative thing to do, because every contract, even with an NDA, must be read, will be read by you and typically your family. When I signed my contract with my job that had some things that come to the non-disclosure agreement, I had to read it I read it with my family. My current job, every job I've ever worked with. Check your environments for the information about non-disclosure agreements, but non-disclosure agreements have to be incredibly specific and cannot be so broad as to stop you from getting advice from people around you. That is actually true. You can go read about your state-specific laws around it, but yeah. Like, read it with people you trust and read it with a lawyer. This is things that you must do. Don't just fucking carry your contract around and sign it in 3 weeks. If it takes you 9 months from agreeing to become an original to becoming an original, fucking do it. Don't end up in a situation where you sign a contract for something that you realize you can't do, put all that pre-production work in, and then give up. That happened to Dragon of the End. And it's not nothing, none of this is Dragon of the End creator's fault, but it's just, that's a lot of energy to invest to lose time. It sucks. And it's even worse if like it goes the way this went, where you get dragged to fucking court. What's the point? What's the point of any of this? If the person offering the contract actually cares, they will encourage you to have it looked at with a pro. Yeah, but frankly, it's not in their best interest to do that. And in fact, if anybody is giving you a contract and they're working in business, people are looking for any edge they can get. Please, just don't. No, like there's nothing. Yaoi Arme, look, I don't know what contracts you guys have had to deal with. I've heard that you guys have dealt with a lot of stuff and it's not been great for you. But like, if you get a contract, it doesn't mean that it's bad. You know? But please put the effort into learning about it. You want to see a stream about artist legal rights? Maybe if I can be bothered to talk to a lawyer, I'll get one on. If I can be bothered. If it takes a lot of time. I think I only know one lawyer that would agree to talk to me. The other one I don't really know too well. Well, we'll see. Maybe. Legal rights. Artist legal rights are not even, most artist legal rights are not complicated. If you want the like long and short of your legal rights, if you make something, you have ownership over it, and you can sell every bit of ownership you have to somebody for money. Don't let anyone take every bit of ownership you have away from you. When you sign a contract to work for somebody, you could be giving away a bit of that ownership. For example, if you sign a work for hire contract, you give away ownership over the art almost entirely, right? If you're comfortable giving that away, that's cool. But understand that everything you make, you still own until you sell away the rights of ownership on several levels. So an example is this. For my company, where the company I'm working at, I think I can say this. We're thinking of, we were talking about getting illustrations done for something we needed to be done for. That's as far as I can go, right? When we wanted to get those illustrations, we wanted to make sure that we could own the art. So we want to own the rights to use the art as we want. So the artist cannot stop us from putting them on badges and like putting them on posters and like tweeting them and like giving them to newspaper magazines, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of that's kind of why a lot of corporate contracts are so expensive. It's because you're paying for the rights for the art to be done and the rights to that art. The reason why a lot of non-corporate contracts between a few people aren't too expensive is because most typical people are paying for art to put on their wall or make their profile picture or like make their background on their computer or their phone. They're not going to use it to make any money, and exclusively that, and they will also have limitations to the use of their art. When I worked to get the illustrations for the starting soon screen done, I'm going to just transition to that real quick. When I worked to get these illustrations done and these character illustrations done, you know, the person I worked with gave me some limitations to the use. I disagreed with most of them and I converted the contract, but that's the kind of power you have over your work. Absolute, unless you give up the ability to have it. You can sell fucking any part of that. You can literally sell exclusively the rights to use your art in a porn context if you want to. Like, just that. Like, that is how fucking granular your rights can be. Okay? Like, you can sell art and be like, you can only use it in this context, only in this situation, only in this game, only in this blah, blah, blah. And if they want to use it for more, they'd have to come back to you, renegotiate, maybe pay, depends on you. You can sell every bit of the thing. You can sell every bit of the chicken, please. Jesus Christ. Like, I wish people would understand that their work is incredibly fucking valuable. Whatever. That's it. That's the whole case thing. If there's any questions, ask them now. This is me taking my questions so I can go to bed. I'm so tired. This took out so much emotional energy that it almost fucking killed me. Took out so much goddamn energy. It almost killed me. Sometimes you can get things in a contract changed, though it depends. An unsigned contract is not signed. So yeah, if it's not signed, you can get it changed. Don't sign it until it's changed. Don't sign it until you get what you want. And sometimes if you don't get what you want, just give up. You don't need to have every contract go well for you. And often, if it's a right that you're not willing to give up, you should probably be very, 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 very skeptical about agreeing to work with that contract. It is incredibly draining. This has been a year of my life, along with friends helping me, God bless them, everyone who basically supported me in like being able to read the information and get through things and helped me fucking redact everything and etc. It's been an exhausting year, and I'm glad I can be done with this fucking bullshit because this case is sad. It's depressing. It's sad, and I'm really sad that no one wins. It doesn't matter how this ends. No one wins. No one wins. It doesn't matter who how the case ends. Nobody wins, and that's just the saddest part of it. If there's nothing, then I will bid you all adieu. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna take a nap. Thanks for watching the entire thing. Thanks for sticking here. I have no idea how many people are here. I hope Manji. Don't say that. Don't say I hope Manji is safe. That's like you're saying the fucking the final lines before like the final destination death happens. Like those are the final lines before the final destination death happens, dude. Don't do that to me. God. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's stream. Please share the video, like and subscribe, and give me money on Patreon. These documents cost a lot of money and time. You know how expensive legal documents are? Patreon.com/Webcomics Hub. Fuck's sake. Patreon.com/Webcomics Hub. Give me more than $1 this time. Fuck. Good night. Thanks to my patrons, especially the new one, whose name is not on the list, but I need to put it on the list now. Margie, you didn't miss too much, buddy. You didn't miss too much. I'm going to put your name on the list now. Lena G. Thanks, Lena, for joining the Patreon army. There she is.